let's go ahead and get started. It's 9:03 on a Friday morning. Hello, everybody. I'm Angela Tsukiji with the North State BIA. I'm really excited to be here today because we are hosting our award-winning Selling Roseville presentation today. Some of you may not be aware that our Sales and Marketing Council started our selling series about 2 years ago, and we highlight different cities or areas within the North State BIA jurisdiction. So we've done Selling Elk Grove, Selling Rancho Cordova, Selling South Placer, Selling Lincoln, Selling Folsom, Selling El Dorado, and this series of classes has been submitted for consideration for an award to NAHB, and it won Best Educational Program earlier this year. So we're very excited and we're very proud. So thank you to our Sales and Marketing Council for coming up with this concept and allowing us to be able to host some really great speakers and give really relevant information for our members. We are very, very proud. And so today is Selling Roseville. And we have a very special guest today. But first, I want to introduce you to another very special person, and his name is Jeff Short. He offices with me at the BIA because he is one of our legislative directors. He advocates for Placer County and all the cities within it, and then also El Dorado County and Folsom. And there may be more areas, but I know he's very busy with those. So with that said, I'd like to introduce you to Jeff Short, who will then introduce our very special guest. Jeff?
Thanks, Angela. Yes, it is very much my honor this morning to introduce Roseville Mayor Krista Bernasconi. Christa was elected to a 4-year term on the City Council in November of 2018. She served as vice mayor through 2020 and is serving as mayor through the end of next year. Christa owns a public relations firm in Roseville and has spent much of her career developing and executing public affairs plans for clients in the private sector. Christa's involvement in the community has been extensive. She's a Roseville Chamber leadership grad and a former Chamber board member. She served as a planning commissioner for 8 years and was elected to serve on the Roseville City School District Board of Education for 8 years. She's a founding board member of Ignite Young Professionals and the Roseville City School District Foundation. And her work has led her to being named as one of the Sacramento region's 40 under 40. She is also a recipient of the Athena Award and Sacramento State's Distinguished Service Award. Both of those have been presented for demonstrating professional excellence, community service, and leadership skills, all of which she possesses in spades. So on this day after Veterans Day, we especially want to acknowledge Mayor Bernisconi as a veteran of the United States Navy. Thank you, Christa, for your service to our country and our community. Ladies and gentlemen, Roseville Mayor Krista Bernasconi.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Angela. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. I am very happy to be here. I think the plan is for me to present a handful of slides. I can take questions anytime, either during or after, whatever is preferred. And today we're talking about one of my favorite things, and that is Roseville. So when Jeff and Angela asked if I would do this presentation about all things Roseville, I just jumped at an opportunity because I love my hometown. So with that, we can get started on slides. I can really only see the three of us, so I can't see everybody else, but let me get out of here. Okay, so basically the plan is just for me to give over an overview of what's happening in the city of Roseville, kind of what we're about, our demographics, how the city council works, our priorities, all those sorts of things. So some of this you might already know, but I'm happy to share with you hopefully some additional information. Just about Roseville, we are a charter city, which basically means we have our own constitution. We are more than 100 years old. One of the great things about our city is we call ourselves a full service city. And so we have own and operate our own utilities. So Roseville Electric and environmental utilities. There are 5 of us that serve on the council. You can see the 5 of us there. Interesting that as of 2020, we are now elected by districts. So there are 5 districts, And but we vote on everything as a council, as a team. So it's important that I relay that when someone calls us with a concern, we do not ask them where they live. We want to be able to help anybody. We are all of your council members. And so we just don't want to let the districts get in the way. We're elected for 4-year terms, and we can serve a max of 2. So really a max of 8 years, unless there was an appointment involved, and that might be a little bit longer. There are about 86 charter cities within California. I believe I think that they are better run cities. We have a city manager council form of government. So really our council's 2 employees are our city manager and our city attorney, which I think of kind of our head coaches, and we give them direction, our vision, our goals, and it's up to them to be able to make it happen. So, and there, I don't think there's anything in here about the redistricting that we're in right now, but I can go ahead and talk about that later. About our priorities, which I think is the next slide. We have developed 6 overarching goals for our city. And I just think it's important that you scan through these to know what is most important to us. Everything that the city does on any new initiatives must support and advance these priorities. So we want to make sure that we are sustainable in every sense of the word, that we are safe, that we afford the services that we have. As you probably all know, being on this call, Roseville has a reputation for having a high level of service, which is something that we as residents and business owners expect of our city. And so we always want to maintain those high level of services. For our demographics, it's important that we know who is in our city. So we know the median age is under 40. It's about, oh, here we go. It's 37. And that's fluctuated over the years, but we have a relatively young, educated population in our city. We expect at full growth, which is in about 2050, that we will hit about the 200,000 resident mark. As you are probably all aware, the census numbers are back, which puts us at around a little under 150,000 now. So coming to Roseville means that you're going to get an educated workforce. We are rapidly growing. We have planned for this growth. An interesting observation on this line is that the median and average household income took a big leap forward in 2020, probably because of COVID and the influx of Bay Area, potentially Southern California residents. With that, unfortunately, our home values and our median home values have seen a significant increase. So, and that's not really different from anywhere across our nation, but just something for us to keep note of. And I can't remember if it's in the slideshow, but I can talk a little bit about our affordable housing, low income, very low income housing opportunities that we have. One of the things that the city did earlier this year is we hired a firm to conduct a community survey just to gauge what is happening with our residents, their sentiments, their feelings about safety, our planning, our growth. And the satisfaction is most all people who live in the city are generally very satisfied. And I can just tell you that has also been my experience serving on the council. We get email and phone call often. Sometimes there are people who are not happy with something, and sometimes it's the same folks that we hear from over and over again. But I would just tell you from my perspective that I feel like the people are happy in Roseville, and that's what our survey results told us. We've also been recognized on through national publications as one of the best places to live. Just Wednesday, we hit a list. I think we were number 8 for veterans, a place to live, but almost in every category, Roseville has received awards, whether it's for seniors, young families, abilities to work from home, affordability for California. And I think it's important that we know, that you all know, that these recognitions have been awarded to the city, and they're not things that we seek out. We're not applying for these awards, but I think it just shows that Roseville is on the map when it comes to being a great place to live, high quality services, great education system. And we also have very low unemployment, relatively low unemployment. We're at about 5% right now, which is amongst the lowest in California. And part of that is because we have really wonderful employers in our community. And I think that's what sets us apart from other communities. We have major healthcare systems in our city. We have that Adventist Health, which is that picture that you see there. We have a number of school districts that each are about 1,000 employees, roughly. And we have more that are coming here. We have all sorts of development that's happening along industrial and foothills that's happening. So you see the Penumbra, McKesson, Amazon. If you're over in the foothills area, you see the Amazon hub with trucks in and out all day long. So we're also net importer of jobs. Many of you are probably interested in the development activity that's happening, and you're probably well familiar with it. New subdivisions continue to come online in the Sierra Vista, Creekview, Fitiment Ranch development areas. Amoruso Ranch is starting infrastructure, and so you'll probably see model homes spring up in the next year or so. The recent surge in home building has accelerated during the pandemic, and we don't see any signs of that slowing just yet. In fact, as of the first quarter of this fiscal year, the pace is exceeding last year's. So we are a very desirable place for home builders, commercial builders, new families. And you can see that through this slide here that our single family home permits are going strong. Corridor planning, I will tell you that if you're familiar with Roseville, you know that we have older parts and newer part of town, kind of our core neighborhoods. And one of our council priorities is to make sure that our older corridors, that they are still highly functioning, that they are safe, desirable for businesses. So when we're talking about this corridor plans, we are talking about Atlantic Street, the Douglas Boulevard and Harding Boulevard, and then Douglas and Sunrise, which are still really heavily traveled intersections in our city. And so we are undertaking a planning process to develop 3 specific plans that encourage pedestrian friendly design, public amenities, streetscape beautification, with ample parking, access to transit, flexible and mixed uses, so that you'll see hopefully more housing along those areas. So keep an eye out for that. If that's an area that interests you or you have business there, we have done outreach to property owners and trying to get them to engage in the process. And our roadways, we are back to pre-pandemic levels when it comes to our traffic, which we are probably all noticing. And we are trying to make our city more easily traveled. So you've got some connections that are happening from Westbrook and Market Street. That's connection to Baseline, which we anticipate in 2 years. We have the Roseville Parkway extension between Washington and Foothills, which will alleviate traffic on Pleasant Grove and Blue Oaks if you travel in those areas. And we're also widening Galleria and Gibson. You see improvements happening along the Washington corridor by that Andorra crossing where the railroad tracks are, which is, also creating some congestion, but it will be much improved by the time it's done. And I think that's a reminder for all of us too, is remember that construction is often messy. One of the greatest parts about Roseville, I happen to love it. We'll have to give a thumbs up if you're also into our trails, but we have a wonderful trail system, and we continue to improve those, develop them, make connections through. I won't read the slide, but our goal is to be able to connect neighborhood schools with retail and parks. We have about 80 parks in our city. I'm on our trails all the time. I live in the Blue Oaks, Wood Creek Oak area, and I see coyote, deer, skunk, rabbit all the time. It's really beautiful, and the trails are busy too. And the trails are a whole nother thing too. We could talk about all the directional and improvements to make them easy to navigate, to know that it's not intuitive to walk on the left, but that's what we're supposed to do. Okay, and I kind of went a little crazy there on the trails, but basically just they're developer built, and many of you probably are selling homes, doing some development in these areas, but you can see that construction is underway on a number of these, and they are funded by our developers. And you can probably zoom in here if you need to, but this just demonstrates what our trail system on the west side looks like, and being able to connect them to amenities is very important. One of the things about Roseville is that we have, let's see, I'm going to say 4, but if we add center school districts, so we have a number of school districts that serve our city. The high school district oversees 6 comprehensive high schools, even an adult school, a continuation school, and then there are a number of feeder schools that feed into our high school district. So we have Dry Creek, Roseville City, Eureka on our east side, and then Center will be serving some of the students on a portion of our west side. So Roseville City, this was just a drawing of one of their newest schools. Riego Creek is now open, and we have another school that is planning in the Westbrook side, and it's really interesting that those are our biggest schools. So Orchard Ranch, which Jeff lives close to, is busting at the seams. They are full. And so Jeff, you know that. So people that like move into that area now, they cannot go to that school. It is so full, which is common in growing areas, but it also can be frustrating for parents that want to get their kids into the neighborhood school. So it's kind of some growing pains that we have, right, Jeff?
Yes, in fact, I'm lucky enough to send my kids to both Orchard Ranch and Riego Creek due to the overcrowding. So it's fun to see both schools and participate in both activities. They're not too far apart. Yeah,
it's wild. You say, you head out west and, you knock on a door and it's like there's a baby on every hip. There are lots of families moving to our west side, really all over Roseville, but our utilities, our high quality schools, the safety, all those reasons are why people want to come to Roseville, and our development that's taking place. So we'll probably see construction coming out of the ground at Baseline Marketplace. Nothing has been announced there. There will likely be a few large anchor retailers in there. Once those contracts are solidified, then you'll see the other amenities kind of come into place, the gas stations, the dentist, the dry cleaner, the restaurants, all those sorts of things. So we'll probably see growth hopefully very soon coming at that Baseline Fitment. We have the plaza at Blue Oaks, which is Fitment and Blue Oaks. There is a Rayleigh's, I think they call that a Rayleigh's One. I can't remember but that's going to be a flagship store for them on that corner. If you haven't been in that area, they are growing out of the ground right now. There'll be gas station, retail, restaurants. Hopefully, I'm hearing maybe a brewery, which might be fun because they do back up to the open space on that north side. The Campus Oaks, which is right across the street from the Safeway at Blue Oaks and Wood Creek Oaks, has the Nugget, Mod Pizza, Jamba Juice, Florist, Haircut. I mean, we're finally getting some retail out in this direction. And then the Village at West Park. So Jeff, have you been to Mojo's or Kitchen 47?
I'm ashamed to say I haven't. We, with everything going on, they haven't been open on Mondays. My wife and I have tried to go twice on Monday, but all the reviews from neighbors are excellent.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing too. I've been to Mojo's. It was awesome. Haven't been to the new restaurant yet, but finally also all of the neighbors out there can have some retail. It's taken a little bit longer for a variety of reasons, but and then the Galleria, they are having record numbers from all accounts in terms of foot traffic and sales, still a highly desirable shopping center. I saw that the new movie theater is going to be opening soon there and really high end retail. So you've got Gucci, you've got Saint Laurent, Louis Vuitton, lines out the door all the time, which I think demonstrate the contrasting economy that we have going on here, but it's still a very desirable place for retailers to be. And as you all know, so much thought goes into where these businesses locate. I mean, they have their own teams that just scour out site locations for them. So information regarding current development activity, it's on the development services page for the city. There are interactive maps and tools. And our development services are a wonderful team. I think they are highly efficient and responsive, and they are there to help residents. A couple things I just kind of touched on that probably are deserving of their own slide is I did touch about Roseville Electric, and it is it's owned by the residents. We are ratepayers. Our rates are lower than outside cities. We don't have outages. Our reliability is really first class. And then our own utilities. So our refuse, our wastewater, stormwater, everything that comes out of our tap. And, changes are coming down the line when it comes to the collection of our solid waste, which we'll be seeing in our restaurants and our home, how we deal with the organic side of it, which all comes down from the state. But we have the ability, I believe, to have more control. And I think that's an asset. And then another thing that you might be seeing on the news, and just to kind of clarify, is the whole redistricting process, that with every census comes the redistricting process. So drawing all of our representatives from Congress down to our water board. So all of our districts are being withdrawn. They are redrawn. They have to, there's several criteria that new districts have to meet. They have to be relatively the same size and population, not in voters, which is really interesting because you take a community like west of Fittiman, and there are many residents, but not as many voters, but it does go on population, communities of interest, trying to keep neighborhood associations whole. So we're seeing our congressional districts being withdrawn or redrawn with proposed maps. And it's also happening at our city council. So there are 5 districts that we all serve in, and those will also be adjusted to account for the new census numbers. So our city council we are not involved in that process whatsoever. We have a independent redistricting committee, and they are the ones who are going to decide with community input what our districts look like. But there is definitely a line that we are not involved in, because I think the perception is that it would be kind of self-serving to be drawing our own districts. And then another thing I'll say quickly is that since that picture is up of the 5 of us, full disclosure, we get paid $600 a month. Well, the mayor gets paid $650 a month, which I think is, it's so funny because when I go to like talk to kids, they're always like, "Are you rich?" I'm like, "No, I'm poor," like not really, but you get the sense of like, I'm losing money in this deal. This is really about serving Roseville, and pretty much all of us have full-time jobs. Pauline is on the left. She's a retired nurse. Scott Albert is a small business owner. I own my own business. Tracy's working, Bruce is working. And so this is really about community service, giving back, making sure that Roseville is in hopefully a better place when we leave it, and making sure that we do right by our residents and our businesses, making sure that we remain really desirable and the place that people moved here for, and which is also a challenge when you have a growing city. But I love to be able to serve. I really all day long am splitting my time between council duties and running my business. And I have a family. I've got twins that go to Roseville High that are freshmen. So life is good and busy and full, and I'm happy to be able to serve. And that's it.
Thanks, Krista. Can you have a couple of questions that have come in through the chat? Colin wants to know if you can share any specifics as far as the old fire station in the downtown area and what the city's plans are for there.
Yes. And that I know I have like different presentations, but I wish I had that slide that showed kind of a drone footage of everything that is happening kind of in downtown Roseville. So the old fire police station, I love that Colin asked that because you can tell like he remembers when that used to be a police station. That has been leveled. There is an RFP out, and we're trying to attract a developer that has plans to build in that site. And just to piggyback on that, across the street from City Hall, the old post office, we've entered into an agreement with a developer who wants to make that kind of a mixed use, condos, hotel, bar on the top floor, I think retail maybe on the bottom floor. The other direction where the post office did move, the city did purchase that building that was owned by the Alizada family, and that will be, the post office is there, and it'll be a customer service center for our utilities, and then offices on the top 2 floors. So there's a lot of development that is happening in downtown Roseville. It's a priority that we have it remain a desirable place, kind of our hub of downtown. It's our main street. It's where our parades are, where our town square is, concerts, family friendly. We have the Goldfield venue that did a soft opening last weekend, and I think will open the first week in December, as well as a restaurant that's happening in the old Cheese Louise. I think that's going to be a brewery that's happening. So there's still an interest in our downtown corridor.
And just as a follow-up, anything you can share on the courthouse redevelopment?
That is also out for bid as well. So the city is looking for RFPs are out to see what proposals are out there for those sites.
Thank you. And then Tori asks, and I think you touched on this briefly, but can you tell us more about the city's plans for affordable housing?
Yes, absolutely. So we have, the city has our own housing department. It's a great resource on the city's website. And we help, though, there is a waiting list, but we do help folks to be able to secure affordable housing. So when we look at very low or low income housing. The Main Street, the housing along Main Street that is operated by Meta Housing is in operation on Main Street. We have Junction Crossing, which is more kind of workforce, more affordable housing that's going to be built by St. Anton. That is happening also in our Old Town corridor. In our downtown. And that's the thing, Colin probably knows this and Jeff probably knows a big difference between downtown and Old Town. You know, downtown is that Vernon Street, and downtown is where we have that low-C building that is operated by, I believe that's Mercy. But finally, after many years of no housing on Vernon, there's housing on Vernon Street. And then there are low income housing developments that are sprinkled throughout the city that we probably, as we drive by in residents, would not even know that they are low income development. And then of course we have our requirement from our developers that they devote a portion of their housing to affordable housing as well. So you know, I don't think the high prices, I think, are a blessing and a curse depending on where you are in the market. But we our city is, I believe, doing a great job in trying to make sure that we can accommodate for as many who need our help.
Absolutely. And if I can just say, you know, working with multiple jurisdictions, it looks like Roseville does much more than many of the other places, and really is trying to make that work for people. So thank you. Any other questions? Take just one more minute maybe, or Krista, if there's anything else you'd like to share with us.
I'm glad to be invited. I appreciate the invitation. Our email addresses are on the city website. If anybody ever needs anything or guidance or a question answered, you have 5 folks right there that are willing and wanting to be able to help.
Well, thank you so much for coming again. I think this was just a ton of information to give to us. So thank you for sharing your time with us. Thank you for sharing that information. We'll look forward to having you back again sometime soon.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, bye everyone.